Hey all, here OS Reviews. A few months back we did a review on the Vankyo V610, a real Full HD 1080p native resolution projector that sold for a very affordable sub $250. For the price, usually we could only see 720p projectors, so this was kind of a breakthrough at the start of 2019, and it gave us a lot of increased detail and sharpness with the images. Well, now we're taking a look at one of their slightly upgraded models. It currently sells on Amazon, by the way, for still around $250 with a coupon applied at checkout. The V610 still has the same brightness at 6000 lux, as well as the same M-Star chip inside, so the performance as far as the image quality should be quite similar. But what they've added is additional controls, including electronic keystone correction functions, which now make it easier to change the image in terms of its tilt as well as the corners without having to move the projector around. So you can crop electronically, you can change the keystone, you can change the tilt, all done with the remote now. It also features the same 5-watt dual stereo speakers, and the other new feature is that it has a new kind of fabric felt material on the top, which makes it look a little bit more clean. Just like before, this projector can cast an image up to 300 inches diagonally for a super large cinematic effect. But as you stretch the image more and more, the pixels per inch, of course, are going to decrease. So optimally, they recommend around 120 inches or under for the best viewing effect. Just like before, we have the same soft carrying case included as part of the package. Other accessories include the AC power cable, which is standard. There is a IR remote that takes 2 AAA batteries. It's the same as before, except now we have a new key that allows us to change the keystone using one click, in addition to some tissue paper for cleaning the lens, which is a very thoughtful touch, a quick start guide in addition to a full user manual, and there's also an AV cable. If you have an older style DVD player, for example, you can also plug that into this unit, in addition to a free USB thumb drive that has the ability to read SD cards and micro SD cards. So you can pop in some media content and the projector can play it back directly. So taking a closer look at the design of this projector first, there's a lens cap, by the way, to prevent dust from accumulating when not in use. The front here houses the speakers as well as some fans to pass through and prevent overheating. Seems like there's more and more speakers and home electronics these days that are trying to use fabric as part of their design language. And on the side here is also an aluminum key that has an LED ring around it that will glow red when it's plugged into power and green when the projector is turned on. It also acts as a power on-off key that you can tap on once to turn the projector on. Now on the side we have a rubber flap that covers up additional I/O, including the aforementioned AV adapter, a 3.5mm headphone jack if you don't want to use the built-in stereo speakers, which are already pretty decent for watching some quick videos with. We'll do a demo later in this video. There's also a VGA port for connecting older style, say, laptops. And then just on the rear, we have access to the 2 USB ports that you can use to plug in the thumb drive, loading back media on an SD card or USB drive, and there's 2 HDMI ports. Otherwise, there's also a feet here that you can use to pull up if you want to pop it at an elevated angle. So overall, we have a very clean and comfortable design. As a quick comparison, here's a V600, which has similar dimensions. It's a little bit wider and it's also much more blocky in terms of its shape. The entire shell is just made out of plastic, as opposed to this one, which is rounded off and has the fabric. Overall, I do like the new design a little bit better, as well as the construction quality just feels slightly more sturdy as well. But again, on the previous model, we were able to adjust the keystone manually just by twisting the lens cap area here, whereas on the new version, again, it's all reliant on the electronic system for doing that. One feature that is missing as a result of using this fabric top design, however, is we no longer have built-in keys on the projector itself for doing things like going left, right, up, and down, selecting things, and changing the input source. Now all of these buttons have to be communicated using the remote, except for the power on-off key, which is now oversized and made out of an aluminum material compared to the rubber of the previous version. Alright, so right now we have a projected screen size of roughly 90 inches on the wall here, and there is a little bit of a tilt because the wall is not completely flat, and that's when we can do a demo of the Keystone Correction. So I'm going to tap on this key on the remote. This is the page that comes up. We can use the up, down, left, and right keys to change the horizon, so you can see that now it's going to be more kind of tilted like this versus making it more flat. So it is pretty intuitive, so let's keep on changing that until it looks a bit more correct. We can also change the vertical, so I can start tilting it towards the left, as you can see there, and then I can also do the same thing, keeps on changing it to the right as well. It's actually kind of a fun trick to look at, but it is very intuitive and easy to use, and controls quite well. We're also basically positioned right next to the projector, so this is as loud as it gets. And you can hear that the fan noise is actually very minimal. It's more quiet than the V600 was. If we select USB, it's actually going to give us a interface here that's quite familiar to past projectors we've seen, but again, if we have an SD card plugged in, we can simply toggle between videos, photos, music content, or text files, and it can read it back directly. Tapping on the settings key, we can adjust other properties, like the picture mode. We can actually change from standard to a soft color to a more dynamic color. All of these properties can be adjusted further depending on what content you're watching. There's even an additional noise reduction mode that you can access if you want to turn the fan on or off, which is again, additional controls that you can toggle through, and I can change things like the orientation of the image. You can actually flip it around, in addition to do things like reduce the image size. So from here, you're able to do the aforementioned digital zoom in and out. That is going to give us a much smaller image as a result. Moving into a demo, we can see indeed it's projecting at 1080p at 60 Hz, plugged into right now a Chromebook, and if we do a demo of a business presentation, we can see that text is extremely clear and legible, even small details. So if you're giving a PowerPoint, if you're looking at Excel sheets, for conference purposes, it will perfectly suffice. If we take a closer look at a crop, we can see that even if we zoom all the way in, again right now we are projected at around 90 to 100 inches diagonally, you can only make out the pixelation if you're kind of zooming all the way to 40 times. Otherwise, it really is difficult to make out. Colors are very vibrant and contrasty for an LED projector of this price, and again, really similar performance here to the Vankyo V600. So of course that means if you're using it for web browsing, just looking at other details is still very easy to make out when it comes to fine text, things like that. No real issues at all. In fact, it really is similar to just using an HD TV. No real problems at all when it comes to even taking a look at websites like The Verge or Amazon. So let's do a quick demo of the speakers on here next. So turning things down there, overall takeaway is the quality for built-in speakers are not shabby at all. It's actually the same, I think, as on the V600, which were already quite good. It's a stereo set, so it gives you a little bit of immersion and stereo separation if you're watching a film, gets plenty loud, and even has a little bit of bass as well. So for a built-in speaker, not bad at all. Of course, if you want the most cinematic effect, you can always use a different kind of surround sound speaker set. You can plug that in. That can improve the audio even more. Let's take a closer look at some other sample footage here, captured in full HD resolution. Again, plenty of detail, and colors are quite vibrant for a LED projector unit. Definitely good enough for watching videos with and enjoying with family and friends, and really it does perform, I would say, even on par with more expensive units. Again, maybe just a year or two ago, having a real full HD native resolution projector would have cost at least $400 and above, and they still do, looking at more expensive tier 1 brands. So for only around $250, this is still one of the best values that you can find for an inexpensive home projector unit with one of the highest resolutions available on the market. Other applications of this would probably be for gaming, which it also does quite well in. Latency is probably not as high as on more expensive Ultra HD TVs, where you maybe have some faster refresh rates and whatnot. But as far as projectors are concerned, it works quite well, and really it's not too big of an issue as long as you're not being extremely picky. It can still be a very enjoyable experience with the colors and contrast, and of course having a larger screen potentially than from a TV. If you're stretching it to say 130 inches, it can give you a very immersive experience. Just some final remarks as we end this video. Some things to keep in mind would be, just like the V600, this isn't necessarily a smart projector, so it doesn't have built-in, say, Miracast or wireless screen sharing. Not that it's a really huge problem, because you can always just plug in a Chromecast or use another kind of Miracast solution. It's just going to occupy one HDMI port. But again, if you want to wirelessly mirror the screen from your phone or computer, that is something that you have to use yourself, but that function isn't built right on in. But overall, again, excellent image quality. quality, really it's about the same as the V600, which was already very impressive and one of the best values on the market you'll find for a native resolution unit. This one just improves a little bit on the details, like the electronic Keystone Correction is really the new feature here that works really quite well, making it a lot more easy to set up without having to physically move further or closer to the screen each time. You can just leave the projector in one spot. And also with that fabric material, looks a little bit cleaner as well from a design perspective. So you can check out more details if you're interested in a really solid full HD budget projector in the links down below. Again, if you are a current owner of the V600, it's probably not enough reason to compel you to upgrade, but if you are looking for a new projector, this should be a slightly better choice in my opinion than the V600 when it comes to that Keystone functionality. Thanks for watching it here at OS Reviews. That's been our hands-on look at the new Vankyo V610 Full HD projector.